What's going on, everyone out there in internet land? It's Captain Sean with Catalina Crew, and we're coming live to you from the Palm Beach International Boat Show. We're doing another episode of the Catalina Crew Yacht-Cast, and I'm sitting here with the editor of Boat International magazine, Cécile Gauert.
Yes, almost there, Gauert.
Gauert.
Yeah, can't blame you. Nobody can say that name. No worries.
I appreciate you taking the time.
Nice to meet you.
And sitting down with us.
Yes.
Yeah, we actually, this is really great that you're able to come and sit down and talk with us. And we met on a boat that's actually in LA called Northwind, 130-footer from 1930. That has provenance going back to World War II, Winston Churchill, the Queen. It was at the Exxon Valdez oil spill. And we started talking there. And we've bumped into each other at these different yacht shows. We're new to this, and we figured why not go to the source, somebody who has all the ins and the outs.
Yeah, all of them.
The yacht industry.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you asking me. You know, I'm more of a behind-the-scene person usually, but you're a very friendly person, and yeah, love to chat with you.
Hey,
so
that's good vibes only, is what we like to do.
That's what we like to do.
So, going back to the yachting industry, what got you into this?
You know, I'm a journalist by training. I always wanted to be one. I moved to the States quite a few years ago from France. I just changed languages, that's all I did, but I still wanted to be a journalist. And so I started working for newspapers and then I live in Fort Lauderdale, or near Fort Lauderdale, and of course that's the capital of yachting in the U.S. And I could see that there was a lot of stuff related to boating, but I had no idea about this industry at all. I thought it was related to cruise ships, not yachts especially. So until I found out, and I was like, oh, this is really interesting. And anyway, long story short, I had a friend who was a broker at the time, and he said, well, what are you doing? Why don't you come work with me? So I thought, well, what am I going to do? He says, oh, don't worry, it's going to be fun. And I spent about a year working with this broker with my mouth wide open. You did what? You spent how much? You want to do what? Anyway, best friend was a owner of a magazine, and the rest is history, as I say.
And so did you start out as a journalist?
Yeah. I started as a journalist, not knowing anything about the boating world. I shouldn't say that because everybody in the industry, a lot of them started as boaters. Even the journalists, they were on the water, and then they made a career out of it.
Yeah, then they progressed.
I'm the opposite. I'm a writer. I'm a researcher. I love talking to people. I love looking at technology. I love design. Particularly on this boat. I know you've been through it, and you see the incredible amount of details that is going into these interior. I mean, there's nothing like it anywhere else.
Yeah, no, this boat's amazing. This is the World Review. This is the actual world.
In the U.S., yes. Well, is it worldwide? Maybe. Yes. So Baglietto, which is an Italian shipyard that is about 175 years old, which is pretty amazing. Anyway, so this is sort of a series, we call it. I mean, basically, it's a platform with a design by Francesco Pascoschi, famous Italian designer for exteriors particularly. Who's been working with that yard, which is based in Italy for quite a few years.
Okay.
And they've designed this platform, and each one is customized for every owner. So this one was customized with an interior by Stefano Vafiadis, who is an up-and-coming designer, actually very, very experienced already, for an owner based here in this part of the world. And so that's what you saw.
And what does it take for like the normal person to know? Like, how long does it take one of these builds from beginning to end usually?
It really depends on the size of the boat. It really depends on the type of the boat. Something like this, since the engineering is already done in theory, according to how much they have to change, it could be a 2 to 3 year build. Some of the custom boats are way longer than this. It could be, 4 years. Some of them, we have some records in industry of boats that have taken 10, 12, 13 years. It's very exceptional, but it has happened. Yeah, so it's very, it depends on what the owners are looking for.
Yeah, if they want a very specific,
Right.
They're willing to wait.
So this shipyard probably starts the hulls on spec, as we call it. So it start building the boat, which helps, sort of reduce the time it takes to build it. as I said, the engineering is already all done. So then it's a matter of deciding what they want to change inside, how they want to customize it. The more customization, the longer it takes, obviously. But they try to be smart about how they change things and give it personality. Like this boat, which has a very nice New York luxury feel. Cipriani, do you know that name?
I've heard it.
Restaurant chain and hotels and hospitality. That's the idea behind it. So Stefano, the designer, worked very closely with the owner to give that sophisticated feel to the interior.
Yeah, it's got a very contemporary vibe.
Yeah.
Us in California, I want to show people the teak. So they
yes.
can prepare their teak like this.
Yeah.
So they can start taking care of it.
Yes, yeah.
You originally, so you came to school here, University of Miami?
That's it, yep. I already had a degree from France, where I'm from originally. But I thought if I don't get a degree here in the U.S., it's just going to be impossible for me to, work in the field that I had chosen. So I went to the University of Miami, which had a big international student body. So they actually understood what I had already done. So they were able to give me some equivalencies that allowed me to get a degree in just 2 years, really. And it was a great experience. And,
so you've been in the U.S. the whole time in South Florida?
Mostly, yes, pretty much since 1985, yes.
Well, yeah, why leave? Look at the weather. It's like perfect right now.
Right now, yes.
And what skills and experiences have been most helpful to you in your role as an editor?
Well, you have to be hardworking. You have to have a curious mind. You have to like what people do. You have to be a good listener. You have to educate yourself. Yeah, you have to be curious, basically.
And as you've been involved in this industry for years, what have you seen that's changed?
Well, this industry, we like to say, is very conservative. So the changes happen slowly. One of the very noticeable one, as you can see around here, if you walk the show, is the boats are getting way bigger than they were. And also, like in this category of type of boat that Baglietto is building, you see more of these very large semi-custom. So, there is already a basis for the boat. There is already the platform. There is already the engineering. There is already a look of the boat, but it still is very personal to each owner. And usually these semi-custom boats were more in the smaller sizes, but now we see like them getting way bigger. Like this boat is 52 meters, so about 170 feet, give or take. So that's quite a big boat to have in this fashion. A few years back, this type of boat would have been purely custom, most likely.
Oh, from the ground up,
exactly.
From the inception of design all the way through to
in
the
bigger
end.
Boats, you would tend to have seen more custom. Yeah.
Okay, so now, like you were saying before, you take like the whole shape and whatnot, and you build around that and customize it to what the owner needs.
You know where the engines are. You know how fast it's going to go. You know where the air conditioning is going to be. You know where everything is going to be. So yeah, none of those things change.
Well, what trends do you find in technology you find like most exhilarating in yachting?
Well, I think everybody's interested in talking about the environment, and obviously these big boats have big engines and have a lot of fuel, so everybody is a little bit talking about sustainability. So the industry is certainly trying to do this. Obviously, a big motor yacht like this is not really what you could call eco-friendly. However, this big boat has a hybrid propulsion system, so there is a lot more electricity in it. So it uses diesel, obviously, as its main propulsion. But batteries, extra batteries, or electric motors that help on some occasion, not turning on the generators or not turning on the engine, depending on the way you use the boat.
This boat with sustainability, so it has some sort of gyro system on the shafts then, right? Like almost like regenerative braking, because I have a Cybertruck, and that's how, anything electric, the regenerative braking is what goes back into the battery.
It doesn't work the same on boats, as you probably
That's
know.
why I was asking.
Yeah. I mean, when you brake, you generate electricity in the car. You can't do that with a boat. Yeah. But so there are different systems. I am actually not that intimately familiar with this particular system, to be very honest. But a lot of them are PTI, PTO, power take intake, and power take out. So yeah, when the shaft turns, it generates some power. So if you are, if you generate more power than you need, then it goes into
into a battery bank.
And then the opposite is true. If you need more power, then it comes out and helps.
We just need to figure out perpetual motion, and then life is good
we'll be
for
fine.
everyone. You know what I mean? We'll be riding forever. Get the Hearn Collider to figure out what we need to continuously maintain these boats to be at sea. But yeah, that was a big thing I remember in Monaco, was the sustainability hub and the governing body they were trying to found. Pertaining to what each class of ship, when it's launched, it would be an A or a B or a C or whatever.
No, there is a big movement throughout the industry.
Impact.
Everybody's working towards. Nobody has the answer at the moment, but we're looking in different directions. Fuel, different fuel. Nothing is as efficient as diesel, unfortunately. We know that. A lot of people are downsizing the engines. Here in the U.S., particularly, the guys who buy the boat, mostly it's guys, they like to go really fast. They want big engine, but they never use, hardly ever use that power. Because, it sounds great that your boat is going 40 knots until you go outside, and it's really not that comfortable.
No, it's not fun.
So, I think people are really becoming a bit more wise to this. So, downsizing the size of the engines is the beginning. Just going a little bit slower, it's not going to kill you. And
well, that's what started us in the boat business, was I started running an 88 Pershing. And that was the first boat, and that's where I learned all the systems, and that I met the captain, and I was like, I can be a captain, so then I got the captain's license, and so on and so forth, and the business grew. But yeah, that guy wouldn't want to go slower ever. He wanted, 80,000-pound boat going 40 knots. Yeah. A little unnecessary.
Yeah, Pershing is doing very well, or has done very well in the U.S., as a matter of fact, yes.
Well, we drove that boat from Marina del Rey to San Diego. I think we burned $15,000 in gas.
How much does that cost?
No, it was $15,000 American in gas.
$15,000, yeah.
And I believe because it's 120 miles.
Yeah.
So it was not very economical.
Yeah.
Yeah, 120 miles. Yeah. So that was at that point. We had stopped in San Pedro, but that's another story. So let's get back to the editorial process. Walk us through what pitching an idea for a piece is, and going all the way through that process to making it to the cover or being in the magazine.
Right. So our cover, obviously we're a boating magazine, and we focus on larger yachts. So the cover is always a boat, always. Photography is very important, obviously, the quality of the boat, if there is a story behind it. Many boats are very beautiful, but there is no story behind it. It's a little bit more challenging to make it interesting. Basically, the editorial process is this. Our readership is primarily yacht owners.
Yeah.
And so you have to write stories that will interest them, Of course, they will be interested in the boats. Everybody picks up that magazine. Boat is referenced, and it's been for many, many years. The magazine that I take care of is actually the U.S. edition of Boat International.
Okay.
Which used to be called Showboats International many years ago, also had a big following. So between showboats and boat, people who are interested in this world always pick those magazines up. They're basically the reference in the large yacht market.
Okay.
So those are factors. How beautiful is a boat? How interesting? Is there a story behind it? I personally love to include an owner when it's possible, because they give the story a personality. It's. At the end of the day, it's a machine. And they can be beautiful, and the design, of course, is going to be an interesting part of it. The technology is going to be interesting, but it's not alive. It's not a personality. So it's always really great if we can get the owner. If we can't get the owner, at least project manager or somebody who's been involved in it, in addition to obviously the designer, the shipyard, and so on. So that's both part of things. And then we have diversified the content to include some luxury content that's interesting to the owners, beautiful pieces of furniture, beautiful, whatever it is. And then we also obviously talk about places where you can go with your boat. So we have a very, very nice travel section, which we call Voyage, that talks about some of the luxury hotels, marinas, destinations around the world.
Okay.
Tend to be very exotic. Even in the U.S. edition, we talk about everything like cruising in Japan, because our readers, some of them, have no problem taking the boat over there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And what's the difference, you would say, between the European market and the U.S. market, and the difference between the two it's Boat International, but what's the difference between the two magazines?
We share a lot of the contents, because the amount of really big boats that we can grab for our editorial is obviously limited. We tend to try to use the same boats. I will include probably a few more boats that are very popular or very well known in the US. We have still a few yacht builders left in the US. Not as many as I wish we did, but we still have them. And whenever they launch a boat, I will try to cover it, obviously. We also, have different way of approaching yachting. So yes, some of the boats that are interesting here may not be so much of interest in Europe. But I just did a story, very interesting story about a completely custom catamaran called H2 that was built in North Carolina by a guy who rented a yard, and just everything from the ground up is just completely custom. And I don't know if they will use it in Europe, but this is a fascinating, American story.
That is fascinating.
Yeah, it is.
That is.
So yeah, and then that's pretty much the differences, basically trying to. But for some of the builders around the world, today, 50% of their boats are going to Americans. They are the absolute leaders in the big yacht market in terms of buyers.
And that's why we need mega and super slips in Marina del Rey, California, but we'll get to that later in the conversation. So, how do you approach balancing the technical aspects of yachting with the storytelling side of an editorial piece?
Yeah, but sometimes it's challenging, but occasionally the technology is the story. It depends on the type of boat, right? Mm-hmm. So we try to gear the story towards what it is. Is it an interior design story? Is it a technology piece? Is it a guy who just rented a shipyard and built a boat with some friends? You have to find what the specific angle is. In the case of that H2 story, the catamaran, we got into quite a bit of details on the technology because the boat is so specific to its purpose. So yeah, it's a balance. It depends on the boat.
What part of North Carolina?
The Outer Banks in One Chase in North Carolina.
And if everyone who's watching, they know the Outer Banks on Netflix. It's I think they're in season 4 of that show now. How does Boat International work with designers, shipbuilders, yacht owners to produce your featured stories?
All right. Well, we work with everyone.
Trying to be fair, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. But we talk to everyone. So there is an editorial component that is very important. I may contact, Stefano Vafiatis, for example,
Stefano,
to name a name, and say, hey, what do you have going on? And you say, well, we have this. Oh, that's really interesting. Can we talk about it? Next question will be, is the owner going to be open to doing some coverage on it?
Okay.
Because one of the difficulties that we have in the super yacht segment is that some of the owners are not really that willing to open the boats for, editorial for everybody to see. So that will determine which ones we pursue a lot. So then we will do the same with the shipyards. The shipyards often, and the designer also sometimes have NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, which are the bane of my existence.
Yeah.
So, but that's what we'll kind of, so we obviously always talk to everyone because the construction of a yacht such as this one is not the doing of one company or one person. There are hundreds, if not thousands of hands involved in making this happen between, you name it, the sofas, the engines, the bar, the jacuzzi, the paint, all of it, the metal work. It's an amazing industry for this because it employs so many people. In some fashion, we get criticized when we talk about this industry because it's like the 1% of the 1% who can afford this. Yeah, sure. It's not that many people who can access this type of lifestyle, but it employs so many people with absolutely marvelous jobs. Mine is fantastic. I'm one of thousands and thousands of people who have a job because of this industry, and really nice, beautiful jobs.
Yeah, well, look what the end result is. Exactly. It's from an idea from somebody's head, pen to paper, all the way down, multiple people touching it, and then it's built, and we're sitting on it right now.
And talk about the craftsmanship, right? You look at anything, a piece, a table, a chair, you name it, a vase, a lamp. Who is going to make this kind of absolutely beautiful object these days? Where are you going to put them? Nobody is building castles anymore. Very few. This is a castle.
Yeah. Very, very few castles. Well, we had the pleasure of touring Cantiere della Marche shipyard in Ancona, Italy. Shout out to Maria. And to see everyone at work in the different stages and the different bays to all the way up to completion, it's honestly miraculous to see that done at such a high level. And even, you know what I mean, throughout the whole industry.
I'd say miraculous is a really good word. I'm amazed every time. Yeah.
Yeah, and to have an end result like this, and obviously with technology progressing and with the younger generations, I guess that'll segue to the next question. As technology progresses, where do you see the next generation? What are the aspects of the boats, you know, that...
Well, I mean, the industry is actually very much trying to see how to attract the younger generations, and we're starting to see way younger people already. They live their boats quite differently, perhaps, than their father or grandfather, if they were in boating. Certainly more relaxed, a bit more simple on the interior, more beach clubs. That area in the back,
yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Are like, the rage. Everybody wants that access to the water, that contact with the environment. So those are important for younger owners getting into yachting.
Well, actually, yeah, if you do see some of the boats, like even at this show, you'll see something that was in 1998 but refit in 2024, and it'll have those older aspects along with the newer, more contemporary. Right. And like this boat being strictly 2024 does give off a lot more contemporary vibes.
Yeah, and then on this deck where we are on the Sundeck, which is absolutely magnificent. This is, for this size of boat, it's quite stunning, the amount of space you have up here. And you will see, mostly what we call loose furniture. You can drag your chairs, you can rearrange your furniture according to who is using it and how. I mean, just 15, 20 years ago, almost everything was built in.
Yeah, stationary.
Yeah, stationary. Now everybody's moving away from this. It's much more natural. You can drag your furniture off and have a party on the deck or however you want to use it. So that's a big difference.
Well, I guess that would be another segue question too. Like, fashion is cyclical.
Yes.
You know how things come and go,
Absolutely.
And go. What are some of the trends in yachting that you've seen that have come, gone, and possibly come back?
Well, very highly varnished woods are getting rarer. We have some of those in here because of the sophistication and the idea behind the design, which is Cipriani, which has this element. So you will see some of that. But in general, in the older boats, especially on the American market, you would see boats that were all wooded inside, and it was beautiful, but very dark, very dingy. One really big evolution has been glass. Glass has changed the world of yacht design forever. You are able to get much larger panes of glass, so you get these uninterrupted views all over the place.
Yeah, that is underway.
And
that's amazing.
Incredible. I mean, the windows. I mean, we used to call them portals. I don't like to call them portals because they're like gigantic windows. It's changed everything.
Yeah, half the hull is glass.
Yeah.
So
that's definitely one. Now, teak, as you see, it is absolutely gorgeous. We do have a bit of a challenge with teak because it's getting rarer. So there is some research going on what to put on the decks next, because some of the teak is not sourced from the right places, and there's been a bit of a destruction of forest. So that's a bit of a challenge, but we will sort it out. And there's still teak that you can grow in sustainable forests. So
yeah. And teak was one of the strongest wood, if not the strongest wood in the world.
Yeah,
I believe.
Absolutely. Very resistant.
Very. If you stay on top of it, just like anything with preventative maintenance, it stays beautiful. But
you would know that better than I.
I know. Trust me, I'm telling people all the time. And then, we don't do the old school varnish. We use like C-Tol sometimes, things like that, where it's, 3 coats as opposed to 14. That's almost like an art form.
Right.
The way they used to teak these boats and make them look exceptional all the time. And I guess speaking onto us in the West Coast, I know we're in Fort Lauderdale, Miami, the Bahamas. This is the mecca of the U.S., I would suppose, in yachting. Why would you say, like, in the West Coast, we don't have as many big yachts? Is that because there's lack of areas to park said boats, or because...
Well, it's part of it, but it's also the destination. On the West Coast, I don't have to tell you, it's deep water. You have to go an awful long way to do something different. Off Los Angeles, Catalina Island is about it. you know?
Yeah.
And then you have to go a really long way to get somewhere else. So then you, of course, if you have a long range boat like this one, which is capable to go at 3,500 miles, probably without refueling, probably more.
Okay.
You can go all the way to Alaska or all the way down to Mexico. But there are not, you know, the Bahamas is a natural place to be for South Florida because, you know, depending on the type of boat you have, you can be there in 2 to 5 hours, and then you have all these islands all over the place. Where you can go and change every day your destination.
Yeah,
you don't have that on the west coast of the United States. So
like
that's one of the reasons.
It's like your personal cruise ship.
Absolutely.
But with us in Southern California specifically, we have the World Cup in 2026, the Super Bowl 2027, and then we have the Olympics.
That's amazing, yeah.
So, we got the idea in Monaco, actually being on a boat, one of the yacht owners was like, I want to be there for the Olympics. I want to bring my boat. How can we accommodate that? And I have a feeling if this is done right, boats will come, especially for events like that. You would know better than me.
No, you're right. If there is an opportunity like this and it's done right, they will come for sure. Because, events are everything. It's part of the experience of owning a boat. It's sharing that experience with friends and being there when stuff happens.
When world-changing events are happening.
Absolutely.
And obviously, it's going to be one of the most water-friendly Olympics in modern history, being right there in Southern California all the way down.
Well, you and I have to talk. We need to make that happen.
I know. Well, hey, a lot of trends start in California, I guess. Let's see if we can...
You know, when the America's Cup was in San Francisco, there was lots of big boats that went just for that. Yeah, for
sure.
And
plus you have to plan. Say, if you're going that far, if you have to venture from wherever port you're in, you have to plan. You can't just take off and say, we're going to be there in a week. We're back to our regularly scheduled programming. We had a tour going through.
Yeah, you have to let people through that can actually purchase the boat, right?
Hey, exactly. We're doing it in real time, Palm Beach 2025. What has been the most rewarding aspect of doing this as a career?
Wow, well, that's a tough one. I've met the most interesting people I've ever met in my life. I've seen the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life. I have seen the most innovative technology I've ever seen in my life. I have been to the most beautiful places in the world. Should I go on?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Did like you said, you kind of like fell into the yachting industry.
I did. Yeah.
And you've made a life out of it.
Yeah.
What's your favorite place in the world to go out on the water?
Well, I had the really good fortune to go to the Galapagos.
Okay.
And I will never forget that.
Charles Darwin.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful. I mean, swimming with animals, you know, they come right up to you. You know, it's not an experience like none other in the world. Yeah,
that's like the place of evolution, the Galapagos Islands.
I remember one night we went out with the tender away from the boat, so the lights were all off, and there were stars all over the sky, and then there was stars all over the water because they had those little microorganisms that just like fire on. Yeah, absolutely. It was like swimming in the stars.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Bioluminescence is awesome. And we'd really like to appreciate, or we'd really like to say thank you to Stefano for giving us the time to be on the boat. We're going to give, we got tours going on.
Yeah.
The owner's on the vessel.
Yeah.
And I guess we're going to end with this. So you said in your bio that you met Donald Trump on a boat in Palm Beach years ago. And Mar-a-Lago's right here, so let's finish with that. Let's finish with that story.
That's an interesting story. So, I'll try to keep it short. My husband is also a magazine editor, and we have this friendly rivalry between us. And he had President Trump, not President Trump then, but...
Apprentice Trump.
Yeah, Apprentice Trump's daughter, Ivanka, on the cover of his magazine, and he kept bragging about it. And I thought, well, I can probably do better than this. And I heard from my boss at the time that Donald Trump was coming, and he was on the Moran brokerage company's stand, and he was going to go on the boat. And I told my boss, can I come with you? And he said, okay, fine. So I followed around, and the gentlemen are all standing there, Donald Trump holding court. And I was trying to get his attention, and it was difficult because, I'm not a stunning blonde woman, and I was just kind of looking very sweaty, and I'd been running around the docks all day. So I figured, how can I get his attention? So I said, well, my husband had your beautiful daughter on the cover of his magazine, and he just immediately lit up like, oh, okay. And so I walked in. I said, do you mind if we take a picture together? And so we did, and because, yeah, I had to show up to my husband that I could do better than he could.
There you go. And now that picture is above the mantle.
It's
King
disappeared.
Trump.
It's disappeared.
No,
I don't even know where it is.
No, I'm just kidding.
I did look very good in it.
I'm just
It's gone
kidding.
somewhere.
Well, again, we really appreciate you taking the time, Cecile.
No, it's great to see you again.
I brought you a T-shirt. Catalina Crew.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Live to tell the tale.
Wow.
That's our moniker, is Live to tell the tale. These T-shirts we made specifically for this show. We're raising money for charity, neurodivergent
fantastic.
kids. So here you go.
Well, thank you.
It's got a little yachty vibes to it.
Well, I feel like I have to donate money if they're for charity.
No, you're good. You're good.
Thank you. All right.
We just need to have your presence on the West Coast more.
We need to talk about those Olympics. We need to make it happen.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. Catalina Crew, Live to tell the tale. On to the next YACHTCAST. Cecile, thank you so much.
Thank you, Sean.
Baglietto, we're out.